Good morning. Welcome to our St. Patrick's Day celebration, and we have got a fun St. Patrick's Day webinar today to share with you. Top of the morning to you, Mark. That's the traditional greeting. We're thrilled.
That is top of the morning. Yeah.
We're just thrilled to have you join us on St. Patrick's Day.
Well, boy, I'm glad to be here.
You know what? I can't wait for you to take us on this virtual journey through one of the most enchanting destinations. There's something about Ireland that just Americans just love. And I know that it's one of your favorite places. I'm going to let you introduce yourself, Mark, because I think that you've got such a fascinating history, but you're in a semi-retired state. And you have, though, asked that you still get to do this Ireland tour. You love it. You love sharing Ireland. And I want you to tell everybody what you love so much.
Yeah, I really do love it. I've been in the travel business for more years than I wish to say, but I've loved my career and I've been all over the world to so many different countries. And Ireland is one of my favorite. And as you said, Wendy, there's something special about Ireland. I like to joke. There are no such thing as leprechauns, but Ireland really is magic. And you step off the airplane and you can almost feel it in the air when you get there. And I was just thinking this morning, why is it so beautiful? And why does it have that? And a couple of reasons. One, the people are just fun and friendly. They have such a unique sense of humor. They're welcoming, they're warm, and fun to be with. Ireland is such a beautiful country. It is green. It's just covered with green. In fact, my guide that I use, I'll mention him in a minute, he says, we have to mow our lawns 11 months of the year because it's warm enough and it's just ideal. And it's certainly not Waikiki, but Ireland has this temperate climate that's really, really pleasant to be in. It keeps it green and beautiful. And Ireland has such an interesting history. There are millions of people in the United States that are descended from Irish. They had the potato famine, and so many people had to leave Ireland just to survive. Many of them came to the United States, and many people in the United States have Irish ancestry. In fact,
I've got Irish. I've got some. I get to claim it.
Oh, there you go. No wonder you're such a happy person. It's interesting. Ireland has a genealogy library. It's not like the family history libraries that the LDS Church has. It's just for Irish people, sponsored by the Irish government. The guide I use, Michael Nolan, he is such a fun guy to be. He's got that dry Irish wit. He is he's a walking encyclopedia of Irish history and just fun to be with. And on one of my last tours, he said, Mark, I took a gentleman to that genealogy library, came back to pick him up, and he said, Michael, I found out I'm half Irish and half Scottish. What does that mean? Michael said, well, the Irish part of you is every time you go by a pub, you're going to want to get a pint of Guinness. I'm sorry. Every time you go by an Irish pub, you're going to want to get a pint of Guinness. The Scottish part is you're not going to want to pay for it.
I know. That I think there's a lot of the Irish and the Scottish. I mean, how could you not have that combination in there? But I think that it's just a comfortable place to travel in. They speak, well, for the most part, you can understand their English or they can understand our English.
Right. And their accent is so fun to listen to.
Isn't it just? I was going to try it when I said, oh, top of the morning to you. But, I definitely don't think that's a great thing for me to try. So I'm excited to see your tour, Mark. I know we've talked through it many times, but I'm excited for you to share it. So one of the things that we thought that we would do today, and then I'll let you go in and tell more about the exciting places you're going to see on this tour. Especially, I love your castles. I'm being a girl in a fairy tale land. You know what? Show me all the castles and then get to stay in one. Let me share my screen with you because I want to show everybody our website. So since our merge with Columbus Travel, so a little history, Morris Murdock Travel merged with Columbus Travel back in 2021, our escorted tour division has retained the name of Morris Murdock Escorted Tours. So we do have a separate website that has a list of all of our tours, and these are several of our destinations. So you can see a lot of our tours by clicking or going to mmetours.com and then clicking here on the destination that you want to travel to. Over here under Europe, everything is listed in chronological order. That wasn't going to come out. And here in September 26th through October 3rd, is your Castles of Ireland tour. And all we have to do is click on that link right there, and we get all the details about your tour. So just a little bit of direction on this website. When you open it up, you do get to have the dates here. It gives you the main places we're going to visit on the tour. The cost here, you can download a flyer. Over here, it does give you a graph of some of the different features of our tours. How much faith-based. We are known for originating as a faith-based company. Now we've expanded, and so many of our tours still include LDS faith-based features to it. But this one is just a destination. So this one is no faith-based on the grid. Sightseeing, it's going to be city and cultural, the activity level. And we'll talk a little bit about the mobility part in your tour a little bit, Mark, too. I think that would be good for everybody to hear. And the walking level, how much walking you should be prepared to do on this tour. Down here, there's a little bit of introduction on you on the tour, and then who our tour manager is here at Morris Murdock Escorted Tours. Now, all of our tours can be booked through any of our Morris Columbus travel agents, as well as directly here on our website. Here under location, we do have a fun interactive map that does let you, if I can do it, it's not going to. Anyway, you can scroll in and scroll out. I won't spend any more time clicking on that. But what we really want to talk about here is the itinerary. And Mark, I would love for you to kind of walk us through a little bit of the day by day, because this tour has got so many cool features. It's really got the highlights of Ireland. So why don't you maybe take it away from here, and I can kind of scroll down and we can look at some of the different things about the tour.
Okay, great. Well, we start September 26th. We're going in September. September is the prime month in Ireland, and getting hotels during September is a little bit of a task to do, but we've succeeded. We've got great hotels that we're going to stay at, especially Dromoland Castle, which is just a highlight. It's a magical experience that we spend 2 nights at. But we'll fly to Dublin, and we have an excellent airfare on this. I think it's $12.99.
$12.99 from Salt Lake on Delta Airlines. So all of our people who are collecting all your frequent flyer miles, $12.99 round trip into Dublin.
Right. And that's just a fantastic airfare. To go any place in Europe for that is really, really good. And of course, if people are coming from other cities, we often have people from cities other than Salt Lake. We can, of course, arrange airfare for you to join us. But we'll arrive in Dublin. And the first day we'll transfer to the hotel, and we do a little bit of sightseeing the first day. We go to the Book of Kells in Trinity College, which is one of the great colleges of the world. And the Book of Kells is interesting. It was made by Irish monks in the about 800, 900, and it's the New Testament, and it has beautifully illustrated art and the story of the New Testament. And when the Vikings raided Ireland, they burned down all the Christian monasteries and churches, and so these monks buried the Book of Kells in the bogs. And bogs are peat, basically, and they have this unique preservatory preservation um, quality, and these books have been preserved for all these years. They found
Wow.
them, and now they're in the book in the Trinity Library, and it's so interesting to see that. We'll see a few of the other highlights of Dublin this first day. Check into the hotel. We'll have a get acquainted dinner to get to know everybody that evening. And then the next day, we go down to Glendalough. Glendalough means the Glen of Two Lakes. And this is one of the early Christian settlements. It's interesting the impact that the Irish have had in Christianity, not just in Ireland, but throughout Europe. We've heard of St. Patrick, and St. Patrick was not Irish. He was from England. He was kidnapped as a boy, taken to Ireland, and there he served as a slave for years. And he finally escaped, went back to England, and converted. I don't know if he converted, but he became a monk, a Catholic priest, and came back to Ireland. And it's interesting. A lot of other people had tried to do that before, none of whom survived. But St. Patrick was the first, and I think perhaps because he'd lived there, but he started Christianity, and Christianity is a big part of Irish history. In fact,
Oh, yeah.
we're going to go to the Rock of Cashel in part of our itinerary here. And I'll tell you an interesting story about St. Patrick when we get to that. But anyway, we'll see the Book of Kells. We'll have some time, and we'll have a welcome dinner the first day, then down to Glendalough the second day. What a fascinating and interesting place it is. It's beautiful. And we go to a woolen mills there. And of course, wool is something that Ireland is famous for. And the wool at this particular mill is shipped worldwide. It's one of the finest wools. You'll be able to go to their wholesale outlet store, and really interesting to hear how wool used to be produced, and they still can reproduce that process. And so it's a fun and interesting day.
Oh, yeah. I know those sweaters are like prized possessions that people get when they're over there.
They absolutely, and so they'll love that day. We'll come back that night. It's a free evening for those who would like. I'm going to take the group down to the Temple Bar district. Temple Bar is where all of the pubs are in the center of.
So it's an area. The area is called Temple Bar.
Yeah, Temple Bar. Yeah. And it's lined with pubs, restaurants. It's just really fun to be. People are there having a great time. And I've got a favorite pub that I'm going to take you to. Now, when people think of pubs, some people think, oh, it's like a bar. Well, no, pubs in Europe, and especially in Ireland, are restaurants. And they serve food, and they do serve alcohol and so forth. But they're just a lot of fun. And so I'm going to walk people down, whoever would like to. We'll go into my favorite pub and spend an evening there that night. Then
But do they break out into song like they do in the movies?
Yes. Yes. And of course, I'll be leading the songs.
You'll be leading the limericks and waving,
and of course,
your sign.
Doing a little jig on the side. I can't promise that. I won't promise that, as a matter of fact. But it's a fun evening. The next day, we leave Dublin, and we're going to travel all the way across Ireland to Killarney and make some interesting stops along the way. First, we're going to stop at the Rock of Cashel. And the Rock of Cashel is a castle on top of this hill. And it's just, you look up at it, and I was there one time, there was a thunderstorm behind it, and it was so foreboding. It was interesting, but it has got a lot of interesting history. And I mentioned St. Patrick, and the Rock of Cashel was the Kings of Munster, which is the southern part of Europe, was called Munster. And this was the headquarters of the Kings of Munster. And when St. Patrick converted all the kings and the people of Ireland, they gave this to the Christian church. And St. Patrick was doing the ceremony to the king to make him Christian. And St. Patrick had a big old walking stick. And as part of this, he raised it up and he slammed it down on the floor, slammed it right into the king's foot and smashed it. Well, the king hardly flinched. And at the end of the ceremony, St. Patrick looked and saw what he'd done. He said, well, why didn't you tell me? The king said, well, I thought that was part of the ceremony. And so it's interesting to see, such an interesting thing. And then we go to
and to hear those tales that you just told.
Yes. Then we go to Blarney Castle. And Blarney Castle, there's a couple of things Blarney Castle is known for. One is the Blarney Stone, which is at the very top of this castle. And you can climb up to the top of the castle. And it's so interesting because it's got just this winding staircase clear up to the top. And you see how and this is a fortress castle. The fortress castles were built as protective castles. And we're going to be staying in Dromoland, which is a later castle that has windows and things like this. But the fortress castles were basically square, tall castles. And we go up on top, and the Blarney Stone is there, and you kiss it. Now, the Blarney Stone is reputed to give you the gift of gab. And I was talking to someone once, and they said, well, did Larry, those who might know my business partner, Larry, they said, did Larry kiss the Blarney Stone? I said, Larry made out with the Blarney Stone. That's where he gets it from.
I think it's absolutely the truth.
Yes. So we go there, and then we have time. We'll have lunch at Blarney, at the Blarney Woolen Mills. And this is a great place to shop. It is. Blarney Woolen Mills is the largest outlet store in Ireland of everything Irish. You can buy sweaters, jackets, clothing, Irish goods, and it's just a lot of fun. For those shoppers, we sometimes have a hard time. We give a time limit, and I have to go in and pry them out of the shopping so we can get on our way.
Well, didn't I see that we're at Waterford also at some point on this itinerary, which is another shopping experience?
Yes. And so and actually we don't go to Waterford. And Waterford.
Okay, sorry, Blarney, that was my mistake.
Yeah, Blarney Woolen Mill sells Waterford. They're the largest outlet of Waterford crystal in the world. Now it's interesting. The Irish people don't buy Waterford crystal so much anymore because it was bought by a German company, and they now produce in China. And so they say it's not Irish.
It's lost its roots.
Yes, but there's some wonderful crystal. I've got some great crystal products that I got at Blarney Woolen Mills, and a great place to shop for that. So anyway, from Blarney, then we go across to Killarney. And Killarney is this, what you picture an Irish town to be, just narrow winding streets, cobblestone, shops and pubs all around. And we stay right in the heart of the town where we can walk and shop and enjoy Killarney, one of my favorite cities in Ireland, just a great personality. Then the next day we leave Killarney, we'll stay 2 nights in Killarney, but we leave Killarney and go out to Dingle Peninsula. Dingle Peninsula is a peninsula that juts out into the Atlantic. It's part of the Wild Atlantic Way. And it's so beautiful because you're driving along this narrow road that the bus is barely wide enough to get through parts of it. Our driver is expert.
Thank goodness, again.
Yeah. And as you go along, you see the Atlantic crashing, the waves crashing over the rocks as we drive. And we make many stops along the way for photos. It's just a memorable experience. We stop at the town of Dingle. And one thing I love about Dingle is there are several restaurants and they serve fish and chips. And I've got my favorite that I'll direct people to, the best fish and chips in the world. I mean, it's right out of the Atlantic, fresh, cooked there. And if you don't like fish and chips, there are other things. But it's fun and another great place for shopping and just walking around and feeling Ireland. And, the Dingle Peninsula, many films have been filmed there. Far and Away was one of them.
I love that movie.
Yeah, and Leap Year a few years ago. I mean, the list goes on because it's so scenic, and you'll see why so many films are made there. So we'll be back in Killarney that night, able to go out and again enjoy pubs and the beautiful community, all within walking distance of our hotel. And then we're on our way back up the Wild Atlantic Way, and we cross the River Shannon. It's really interesting. We take a ferry across the river, and we're going along this beautiful scenery of the Wild Atlantic Way to the Cliffs of Moher. And speaking of films being made in Ireland, you might remember the Princess Bride and the Cliffs of Moher. If you remember the Cliffs of Insanity,
Not the Cliffs of Insanity.
yes, that's right. And they are just spectacular. In fact, I've taken many groups there, and you get out of the bus, there's a visitor center, and you go up this path, and you can go right or left. Now, to the right, it's a very safe path. It's got kind of a little wall about 3 feet high to kind of keep, because you're walking right along the edge of the cliffs.
Wow.
And beautiful scenery. And then if you go to the left, it's private property, but they do let you go on. There's no wall. I mean, some places you're like 10 feet away from the edge of the cliffs. And in fact, there's a little monument for there that has names on, each year adding names to it of people who've gone over the cliffs. That
intentionally or otherwise.
And I took a group, and they were a construction company. These guys are all, rugged guys. And so I got on the bus. I said, please, go on the right, because that's the safe way. If you go on the left, it can be a little dangerous. We got back on the bus. I said, how many went right? I think one hand went up. How many went left? 40 hands went left. So you can go either way, but it's a spectacularly beautiful sight there on that. And then we continue down to Dromoland Castle, really the highlight of the tour. Dromoland Castle was built in the 1200s and has been continuously occupied since that time. Now, Dromoland Castle today has 100 rooms. I've actually had a couple of groups go there that's bought the whole castle out. But we'll, of course, just have our 20 rooms for 40 people. But it is a delightful experience to stay at Dromoland's. It's just fairy tale almost to stay there. And we have 2 nights at Dromoland Castle. And I love taking people in, because their eyes just get wide and they say, wow, this is a real castle. It really is. And there's so many things to do. We'll get there in the afternoon, have some free time. Then the whole next day is free. And there's so many things to do at Dromoland. They have hiking trails through the forest. If you're a golfer, they have one of the best golf courses in all of Europe. And they have a special member rate. Last time I was there, it was €90, which is a fabulous rate for a top golfer. Maybe a little more now, I'm not sure, but a great rate if you want to golf. They've got carts that you can drive through the forest. They have what are called jaunting carts. And what a jaunting cart is, it's a horse-drawn cart, and you sit in the back, and the Jarvie, they're so fun to listen to. He's going to tell you legends and stories and jokes all the way along. One of my favorite things to do there is falconry. For centuries, falcons have been used for messaging, for defensive purposes, all kinds of interesting purposes. And they have trained falcons here, and they'll show you how they train them and all the things that the falcon.
I was going to say, talk about an authentic activity that would have gone back to the origination of the castle.
Yes, absolutely. So it is just a marvelous experience. We'll have a closing dinner there that night, and just kind of relish the experience of being at a castle. And then
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Now, I was just going to say, just listening to you talk about this tour, there's a couple of things that I wanted to point out that sounds just, I think, makes your tour really special, and just something that people should think about. On this tour, you are staying at least 2 nights in every city that you are going to, and kind of day tripping to the different areas through there. That is very convenient for the carrying of luggage, packing, unpacking, to get to minimize the number of hotels. And I think that works really well. The way that you laid this out is that you do get to stay at least 2 nights at each property. The other thing is the fact that you do have free time built into this tour to actually experience Ireland. Now, we sell a British Isle cruise, and a lot of people have done that. And they've got, on a British Isle cruise, you go to Ireland, Scotland, England, these places. And people say, well, yeah, I've been to Ireland because I stopped there on a cruise. But did they really get to experience Ireland? Did you go into a pub and have dinner with the locals? Did you listen to, the lores? Did you get to walk the cliffs? These are the reasons that you go and you do these kind of experiences.
Right.
And
There's a difference between seeing Ireland and experiencing Ireland. And I think we do
thank you.
that.
That's the point I was trying to make for sure. And I think, Mark, maybe you can talk about some of the benefits that groups get versus if you were to do this on your own, just go and pick up a car.
Yes, one of the tricky things of getting a car driving on the opposite side of the road, which I find driving on the opposite side of the road is not hard until it comes time to make a turn. And I can remember making a turn, and all of a sudden seeing all the cars coming straight at me.
And there's a moment of panic.
Yes, and I've done drive tours in Europe with my wife, and of course, MapQuest and things like that make it a lot easier now. But as I can remember, she's doing the map, and we drive by the exit. She said, "You're supposed to turn off there." Well, you didn't tell me soon enough. Why and then finding your way around, and then once you get to the site, what are you seeing exactly? And we've got a guide that's expert, and local guides also that just will make the place come alive. And you can't do that on your own. So, and it's just nice not to have to worry about the details of getting there and the timing and knowing everything's taken care of.
Those are such good points. I was going to say, I know I've done some of the capital cities of Europe, like with an audio guide.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm so focused on the audio guide that I'm kind of missing the experience of being there
Mm-hmm.
myself. And I know the other thing that I worry about when I'm on my own is, am I going into a tourist trap experience, or is this really an authentic experience that should be enjoyed? Or this is like, you were talking about the fish and chips. Are you going to go to a place that everybody goes to because it's just easy, or is it really going to be the best experience? And I
Yeah.
think you said you've taken over 20 groups to Ireland. You know these places, and these people know you. I loved what you had said before about when you made your reservations at the castle, that they know you, that they worked not just the best rate, but they know you by name because of the number of times you've been there, and they know what your groups want.
Yeah, I love going there and getting off the bus to say, "Hi, Mark, it's good to see you again." And,
It's like,
you know,
brother, welcome home.
yeah, Dromoland Castle, to stay there on your own, that is about $600 a night. I said, I need a good rate. And they gave me a rate, and they said, I promise you, this is the lowest rate we give to anybody. So it's a good value. It's a great value if add everything up and take the value and the fun and the intrigue and the interest. It's just a marvelous experience, and you'll see why. Each year I have 2 to 3 couples that have been on the tour before that are coming back again.
Because they just need to share it with somebody else, or just
They
re-experience
just,
it.
yeah, love the experience. They want to experience it again.
You know what, Mark? This does just sound like a fantastic trip, and I love that you ended at the castle, one of the highlights. So, and then you have the free time to experience the living like a king. I think that's the theme of the castle, is that you actually get to live like a king for a day. You have a wonderful farewell dinner there that evening, and before you head back to Dublin and fly home. I was just going to point out on our website, up over here, because a lot of people now are going, okay, sign me up. We're ready to go.
Mhm.
Wanted to show a couple of the different place that you can find all the information on this tour here on our website. If you click on this tour includes button, you'll see that it has the highlights of the tour, what's included, what's not included. And here it does show that $12.99 airfare that we have on Delta main cabin. Um, and of the other things that you need to plan for. So it's got the cost of the tour, and then deposit on this is only $500 per person. with it being a tour this year, our final payment will be due the end of June. So you do have a little bit of time before that payment is due. So this website just has got a ton of information. I think that you can download this flyer, take a look at it, share it with friends and family. I think this is the year to go to Ireland with you, Mark. I think I'm signing up myself.
Well, I'd love to have you come along.
Well, and what a better way to celebrate St. Patrick's Day than to sign up for your Ireland tour.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I appreciate everybody watching this today. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you. May the luck of the Irish be with you. Wear your green so you don't get pinched. We were talking about that earlier, that both of us had our traditional green on for the day. Eat your Lucky Charms, and we hope to see you in Ireland this fall with Mark. Mark, thank you so much for your time. Thank
you're
you
welcome. Thanks,
for
Wendy. Glad
taking
to
us
do
through
it.
this tour.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great day.